There we go. So we left off yesterday, ladies and gents, with our main character, Guy Montag, leaving his house after talking to his wife. We really got to showcase the wife's annoyingness. I completely hate the character of Mildred, his wife, because she's so annoying and very selfish and self-centered. But he leaves the house and enters into the rain. And here's where we're going to meet Clarice McClellan a second time. And, of course, because her one job in the story is to make him think, she's going to be asking him questions again and making him think. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, would anyone like to read for us to begin? Last day for extra credit, all right? Oh, all of a sudden 2 new people want to read. That's so strange. Go ahead and take us first 2 paragraphs, let's say from here to the Y, all right? And from there on, we'll get a placement for you to read.
The rain was standing away, and the girl was walking into the center of the sidewalk with her head up and a few drops falling on her face. She smiled when she saw Montag. "Hello," he said hello and then said, "What are you up to now?" "I'm still crazy. The rain feels good. I love to walk in it." "I don't think I like that," he said. "You might have tried." "I never have." She licked her lips. "Rain even tastes good." "What do you do, go around trying everything once?" he asked. "Sometimes twice." She looked at something in her hand. "What have you got there?" he said. "I guess it's the last of the dandelions this year. I didn't think I'd find one on the lawn this late. Have you ever heard of rubbing it from your chin? Look." She touched her chin with a flower, laughing.
All right. So, notice here that she is trying a lot of new things that people would consider her really strange for. She's walking through the rain with no, coat on, and she's even tasting the rain. Have you ever tasted rain before?
Yeah.
Like, it actually does taste like fresh water. It tastes good, surprisingly. As weird as that sounds, it does. So that's something, though, that he has not done. Everyone nowadays have done that, but in this society, apparently, no one's even slowed down to even do that. All right, let's go ahead and finish up the rest of the page for us.
Why?
Why?
If it rubs off, it means I'm in love. Has it? It could hardly do anything else but look. "Well," she said, you're yellow under there. "Fine, let's try it. You now." "It won't work for me." Here, before you could move, she had put the dandelion under his chin. She drew back and laughed. "Hold still." She put her under the chin and frowned. "Well," he said. "What a shame," she said. "You're not in love with anyone?" "Yes, I am."
So here we have this it's an old wives' tale. If a dandelion comes, if you brush a dandelion underneath your chin and the powder comes off, then you're in love with somebody. And if it doesn't, then you're not in love with somebody. That's an old wives' tale, of course. But we see here it being used to showcase the difference between these 2 characters. Remember, Clarice here is the symbol for innocence. She is just a 17-year-old. She wants to try everything. She wants to experience the world. And we have Montag, who's a 30-year-old. He is questioning life. His wife just OD'd last night and completely forgot about it. But also, he described, if you remember, his wife as being a lifeless body. And he wished that she had, just like the blood transfusion she got yesterday, that she just with her new blood would have been a new body, and it would have been a new brain, it would have been a whole new personality as well. So we learn here that, in fact, he does not love his wife at all. He does not love anyone, in fact, which is a very sad way to live life. Of course, that's not what you say. Of course you love your wife. So yes, I am. He's married, right? Anyone else like to read? Sebastian, go ahead, and we'll go next with Mr. Ford.
It doesn't show. I am very much in love. He tried to conjure up a face to fit the words, but there was no face. I am. "Oh, please don't look that way. It's the dandelion," he said. "You used it all up on yourself. That's why it won't work for me." "Of course, that must be it. Oh, now I've upset you. I can see I have. I'm sorry, I really am." She touched his elbow. No, he said quickly. "I'm all right." I've got to be going. So say you forgive me. I don't want you angry with me. I'm not angry. Upset, yes. I've got to go to see my psychiatrist now. They make me go. I made up things to say. I don't know what he thinks of me. He says, I'm a regular onion. I keep my busy peeling away the layers.
All right. So just how many of y'all have ever seen Shrek? The original Shrek. Most people should. That's a classic now of childhood. Remember he said, what are ogres like? Ogres are like onions. There are layers, right? Same ideas happening here, just roughly 60 years before Shrek ever came out. That she keeps making things up, so the psychiatrist has no idea what to think about her. So that's what he says, that she's a regular onion. She has a bunch of different layers that he's trying to figure out how she ticks in some way. But also notice here how much she cares that she's hurt someone's feelings. That's very unlike Mildred before. When Mildred would talk, she didn't care about how Montag felt. She just would be like, okay, well, bye. She didn't care at all. Remember, they spent just 2 months ago money to buy a new TV wall for her, and she forgot about it. All she wants is to know is when we're going to get the fourth one. When we're going to get the fourth TV wall put in. We did the math yesterday in my fourth block. We had just enough time, and buying one of those TV walls today would be about $14,000 to $15,000. You can't really spend that much money without going into debt pretty easily these days. So, she doesn't care. Mildred did. But we say Clarice here, she does care. As soon as she hurts his feelings, she's caring. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I can see you're upset. I can see you're angry. Please don't be angry. And so she's already asking for forgiveness for something that she's made him upset about. That's something very different from every other character in this story. There's only one other character who is somewhat similar. That's it. Mr. Ford, go ahead and take us away. Finish up the rest of the page.
I'm inclined to believe that you need the psychiatrist that one day. You don't mean that. He took a breath and let it out, and at last said, no, I don't mean that. The psychiatrist wants to know why I go out and hike around the forest and watch the birds and collect butterflies. I'll show you my collection someday. Good. They want to know what I do with all my time. I tell them that sometimes I just sit and think, but I won't tell them what I've got them running. And sometimes I tell them I like to put on my head back and like this. And let the rain fall into my mouth and it tastes like wine. Have you ever tried? No,
So notice here, this slight change in Montag. This is going to be one of our very first changes in Montag. He's been thinking now for a while, which we know is an issue for him. Anytime he starts thinking too much. And he ends up either thinking himself an idiot, like, why am I thinking like that? Or he realizes just how sad he is, just like he did the night before. But notice here there's a slight change in his personality. He says, to try to be mean a little bit, he says, I'm inclined to believe that you need the psychiatrist, said Montag. She knows you don't mean that. He took a breath and let it out at last and said, no, I don't mean that. He's actually thinking about what he's saying to someone else. This is his first step of not being selfish right here. This is a character change. So I want you to at least draw attention to this. He took a deep breath and let it out and said, no, I don't mean that. This is going to be a character change. Montag is beginning the first little steps of changing into a new person with thinking about how he hurt someone else, how he tried to hurt someone else. That's going to be a big first step for him. In fact, it continues a little bit. She says, the psychiatrist wants to know why I go out and hike around in the forest and watch the birds and collect butterflies. I'll show you my collection someday. Instead of saying, I don't want to see your collection of butterflies. Or instead of being selfish, looking at someone's collection of butterflies, he just says, good, as if he's interested in that. Another little step in the character change right there. It's a really big, important moment for our character, even though we sometimes just step over it like it's nothing. We read over it, past it. That's a really nice, big change in our character. Would anyone else like to read? Go ahead.
You have forgiven me, haven't you? Yes, he thought about it. Yes, I have. God knows why. You're peculiar, you're aggravating, yet you're easy to forgive. You say you're 17? Well, next month. How odd. How strange. And my wife's 30, and yet you seem so much older at times. I can't get over it. You're peculiar yourself, Mr. Montag. Sometimes I even forget you're a fireman. Now may I make you angry again?
All right. So we know that her actual age is not really 17 and insane, as we said earlier, but it's actually 16, and she'll be 17 next month. All right. So she's still very much a child in this story. But also notice here that it's a slight. We're noticing differences in the character between Mildred and Clarice. Mildred, though she is older, she's twice her age just about, she seems really young because she's childish in her mentality. She's not mature. All she cares about is watching TV and, we'll see later, hanging out with friends and drinking. That's all she cares about. Very childlike mentality. But we see with Clarice, she's questioning life. She is trying to go outside and explore the world. She is acting with much more maturity than the 30-year-old in comparison. Now she even asks, can I make you angry again? We can make people angry by asking them very targeted, very specific questions to make them kind of angry. It happens sometimes. And we see him growing up a little bit going, go ahead, try to make me angry again. I'm fine with that. Would anyone else like to read these next few? Okay, go ahead, Cyber.
How did it start? How did you get into it? How did you pick your work, and how did you happen to think to take the job you have? You're not like the others. I've seen you. I know. When I talk, you look at me. When I said something about the moon, you looked at the moon last night. The others would never do that. The others would walk off and leave me talking or threaten me. No one has the time anymore for anyone else. You're one of the few people who put up with me. That's why I think it's so strange you're a fireman. It just doesn't seem right to you somehow. Keep going.
Yeah, go and read the next paragraph for us.
He felt his body divide itself into a hotness and a coldness, a softness and a hardness, a trembling and a not trembling. The two halves riding one upon the other.
Yes. So this is where we can start getting a little bit confused by the language itself. Sorry, y'all, this new case. My phone keeps going off. There you go. So this is where we can start getting a little bit confused about the relationship between these two characters. Now, just like some of y'all, I'm not 30 yet. I'm only 26. Yeah, I'm only 26. I had to make sure that sometimes you forget when you get older. But I talk to y'all all day. I talk to 15 and 16-year-olds all day. So just like this, there's no strange relationship between you and me. Just like there is no strange relationship between these two characters. Sometimes students start reading into it a little bit too much, especially with this paragraph here. He felt his body divide itself into a hotness and a coldness. That just means that he doesn't know what to feel, all right? He feels like he doesn't understand how he's feeling about this question. A softness and a hardness. Don't get nasty with this one, okay? As in, there are some parts of his understanding that he knows, all right? As in, like, there are some parts of his brain that he knows the truth, and some parts he does not know. It's kind of soft in the idea. A trembling and a not trembling. Sometimes with just one hand can be trembling and the other hand can be steady. It's a bit strange, but he doesn't know what to feel. The two halves grinding one upon the other. He has no idea. His brain feels like trying to turn this question over. It doesn't know what to think itself. That's what that section means, that paragraph. So don't take it in the wrong light. But she's noticing here that he seems a little bit different than other people. She even says, you're not like the others. I've seen a few, I know. When I talk, you look at me. When I said something about the moon, you looked at the moon last night. The others, as in the rest of society, the other population, would never do that. The others would walk off and leave me talking or threaten me. No one has time anymore for anyone else. That's the big key part here. Everyone's selfish, remember, in this society. You're one of the few who put up with me. That's why I think it's so strange you're a fireman. It just doesn't seem right for you somehow. This idea that maybe he is performing a job that he really is not suited for. Maybe he is different. That idea completely locks his brain for a moment and makes him unable to think about how he could answer it. So he just starts off, "You better run on to your appointment," he said. And she ran off and left him standing there in the rain. Only after a long time did he move, and then very slowly, as he walked, he tilted his head back in the rain for just a few moments and opened his mouth. So remember, she was talking about tasting the rain before. So now we see him actively trying to taste the rain himself, trying to live a little bit more, a little bit differently than what he was. Another big moment right there, another really big moment of character change, not just in talking, but also in action. Because it does not matter if you talk the talk, you also have to walk the walk. You actually have to provide an action to change your thoughts, to really showcase your thoughts being changed. And that's where we have this action there. Next one, we're going to be introduced to a very important, not character really, item, machine. Would anyone like to read this next paragraph for us? Okay, Yasmin, go ahead.
The mechanical house.
Uh-huh.
The mechanical house Silver did not see live, but did not live in the gentle hum and gentle vibration. It softly illuminated candle back in the dark corner of the house. The dim light of morning, the moonlight from the open sky framed through the great window, touched here and there on the brass and the copper, and the steel of the faintly trembling beast. Light flickered on beats of ruby glass and sister
Capillary.
hairs on the nylon brush nostrils of the creature and quivered gently. His 8 legs farted under it on rubber padded paws.
Right, so this machine is going to be really important. It's called the mechanical hound. A hound is a type of dog. It's usually a pretty large dog, around 80 to 90 pounds, give or take. They're large hunting dogs. The mechanical hound we're going to see is also a hunting animal. It's a machine that looks like a dog, and it's going to be used to hunt down people who are breaking the law. If you break the law and try to run, they let loose the hound on you, and it comes in. It'll tell us what it does. But basically, it shoots out a needle from its mouth and shoots you full of basically like a knockout poison, I guess. But we see here that its actual description of it. There are some fantastic drawings of the mechanical hound online. I'll show you one tomorrow, or I'll put it online for you to see. And we're seeing here that this machine is turned on right now. That it is on. How you can actually touch a computer and you can feel it vibrate a little bit as it turns on, as the fans turn on the motor and all that good stuff. Same thing here, right? The touch here and there on the brass and copper and the steel, a faintly trembling beast. So this beast is turned on. It is ready to go. It's ready to attack if need be. Would anyone like to read the next paragraph? Anyone new? Bailey? Or how about you read the next one? Right?
Once actually down the grass, so he went out to look at the city and the class and cleared away completely. And he lit a cigarette and came back to bend down and look at the honey. It was like a great bee come home from some field where the honey is full of poison violence, of insects and nightmares. Its body cramped liquid, overrich nectar, and now it was sleeping the evil out of itself.
Right. So this machine is evil looking. It's not just a symbol looking like it looks like a cute dog. No, it looks evil. In fact, it looks like it was like a great bee, because bees vibrate, right? They buzz, just like machines do. Come home from some field where the honey is full of poison wildness, of insanity and nightmare. So this thing looks like a nightmare. You do not want to see this thing running at you by any means. It looks completely evil. Take us away.
Hello, whispered Montag, fascinated as always with the dead beast, the living beast.
You can keep going for me. That's a little short.
Nights when things got dull, which was every night, the men slid down the brass poles and set the ticking combinations of the old factory system of the town and let loose rats in the firehouse area. And sometimes chickens and sometimes cats that would have to be drowned away. And then there would be betting to see which the hound would seize first. The animals were turned loose. 3 seconds later, the game was done. The left cat or chicken, caught half across the areaway, gripped and gently paused while a 4-inch hollow steel needle plunged down from the proboscis of the hound to inject massive jolts of morphine and cocaine. The pawn was then tossed in the incinerator. A new game began.
Yes. So we see here again that lack of caring, that detachment idea with what these people, these firefighters, do with this hound. When nights are boring, and he says, which is every night, so they do this just about all the time, the men would go down into the, slide down the brass pole where the hound was, and they would set the ticking combinations of the smell system of the hound and let loose rats in the firehouse areaway, and sometimes chickens and sometimes cats that would have to be drowned anyway. And they would bet to see which animal would die first. It's kind of a sick thing to do. Heck, who wants to sit there and watch an animal get slaughtered for no reason, just to place a bet? That's not, hopefully no one raises their hand. That's not something you really want. And what happens is within 3 seconds the game is done. So the hound is fast here. It does not slow down at all. It's very fast. And whenever it catches one of these animals, it punches down with a 4-inch hollow steel needle that comes out of its mouth to inject the animal, whatever it is, the rat, cat, or chicken, with morphine or procaine, which are drugs that will knock you out. And then they just toss the dead animal into the incinerator and start a new game, like it's nothing. This showcases 2 ideas. One tells us about how the mechanical hound hunts, and also it tells us how very uncaring these people are, these firemen are. Would anyone like to continue reading? Lee, go ahead.
Montag stayed upstairs last night when this went on. There had been a time 2 years ago when he had a bet with the best of them and lost their weak salary and faced millions in second anger, which showed itself in games and watches. But now at night, he lay in his bunk, face turned to the wall, listening to the books and laughter below. And the piano's strings scurrying of rat feet, the violin squeaking of mice, and the great shadowy motion silence of the pound leaping out like a moth in the raw light. Finding, holding its victim, inserting the needle and going back into its kennel to die as if the switch had been turned off.
So, you can get a little bit confused about the rat feet. If you've never heard a rat before, it sounds really tiny. You can actually hear the little scratching on the walls or the ground, whatever it is. I hate mice personally, or rats. But that's the piano string scurry of rat feet, or the squeaking of mice. And of course, whenever the hound pounces, it's going to kind of be very quiet about it until it goes back. After it kills the animal, it goes back and falls asleep to die, as if the switch had been turned off. All right. Montag touched the muzzle. The hound growled. Do machines hate you? No, they do not. They can't hate you. You might think some machines do. Sometimes I think my phone hates me whenever it acts wrong. It doesn't act right. But the machines cannot hate you by any means. But the hound growled at him. Something kind of strange going on there. Montag jumped back. The hound half rose in its kennel and looked at him with green-blue neon light flickering in its suddenly activated eye bulbs. It growled again, a strange, rasping combination of electrical sizzle, a frying sound, a scraping of metal, a turning of cogs that seemed rusty and ancient with suspicion. No, boy, said Montag, his heart pounding. He saw the silver needle extend upon the air an inch, pull back, extend, and pull back, almost threatening. The growl simmered in the beast, and it looked at him. Would anyone like to read the next paragraph? Michaela, go ahead.
Montag the hound took a step from his kennel, looking at the brass pole with one hand. The pole reacted, slid upward, and took him through his zone quietly. He stepped off the half-lit deck bag of the upper level. It was dripping in its place with green light. Below, the hound had sunk back down upon its eight incredible insect legs. It was humming to itself again. Its multifaceted eyes at
Right. So multifaceted, it means its eyes have a lot of different sides to it. Like if you've ever seen up close to a fly's eyes, how their eyes look like there's different segments to it, or like a diamond, how there's different parts of it. That's a segment or the facet of a side. So it has that look in its eyes there. Notice also we get a little bit of futurism. The pole reacting slid upward and took him through the ceiling quietly. So all you have to do apparently to get upstairs is just to grab onto the pole and it just slides you up. It's kind of interesting. There's another little bit of futurism, futuristic technology idea, as well as the hound reacting and how it reacts. Would anyone else like to continue reading? Okay, right.
Montag stood, letting the fears pass by the drop hole behind him. Four men at the card table under a green-lidded light in the corner glanced briefly but said nothing. Only the man with the captain's hat and the sign of the phoenix on his hat, at last curious, his playing cards in his hand, talked across the long room.
Now we're going to get introduced to the captain, all right? And the captain is going to be really important in the next segment, the next section next week, and we're going to be diving into his thoughts really, really heavily, all right? Can I continue? Yeah. Read just to the Montag swallow.
Montag, he doesn't like me, said Montag. What, the hound? The captain steadied his calls. Come off it. He doesn't like or dislike. It's just functions. It's like a lesson in ballistics. It has a trajectory and we decide for it. It follows through. It targets itself, hones itself, and cuts off. It's only copper wire, storage batteries, electricity.
Right. Just like a handgun, or a gun in general. It's a lesson in ballistics, as in you point it, you shoot it, and it goes where you shoot it. That's it. That's all of this machine will do. Montag swallowed. Its calculators can be set to any combination. So many amino acids, so much sulfur, so much butterfat and alkaline, right? We all know that. All those chemical balances and percentages on all of us here in the house are recorded in the master file downstairs. It would be easy for someone to set up a partial combination on the hound's memory, a touch of amino acids perhaps, that would account for what the animal did just now, reacted towards me. So we see him kind of acting a little bit erratic, maybe thinking that there's a conspiracy against him. Someone's trying to screw with him a little bit, play a practical joke on him, to where the hound would react to him and make him a little bit nervous. But if you not to read the next bit, you do get to curse. Go ahead. Go ahead and read the rest of the page.
Hell, said the captain, irritated but not completely angry. Just enough memory set up in it by someone so the ground will not touch it. Who would do a thing like that? Asked the captain. You haven't any enemies here, guy? None that I know of. We'll have the hound checked by our technicians tomorrow. This isn't the first time it's threatened me, said Montag. Last month it happened twice. We'll fix it up, don't worry. But Montag did not move or stood thinking of the ventilator grill at the hall at home, and what lay within behind the grill. If someone here in the firehouse knew about the ventilator, they might tell the hound.
All right, so notice here, we get that thing that he was ashamed of in his house, right here. We get another reference to it, that thing that's hiding, and he's thinking about it now. I'm going to put a question mark there as in what's hiding in that ventilator grill. We still have that mystery coming back. It's going to come back a couple of times before we learn exactly what's inside of that ventilator grill. Last page. Would anyone like to read this first section? We're going down to here. All right. Who are you pointing at? All right. Mr. Ford, how about you go ahead and read this first half of the page, and we'll have someone else read the next half.
The captain came over to the drop hole and gave Montag a push in the I was just figuring, said Montag. What does the hound think? Think about down there. It's kind of alive on the roof. It makes you cold. It doesn't think anything you don't want it to think. That's sad, so it might take a fight. Because all we put into it is hunting and finding and killing. What a shame if that's all you can know remember. Be smooth, gentle. Hell is fine. It's fine, bitter craftsmanship, a good rifle that can fix its own target and guarantee the bullseye every time. That's why I said one day, I want to be an education. Why? You got a guilty conscience about something. Don't say that's good. That's just good. Be stood there looking at him, staring into his eyes, by his mouth open and began to laugh at himself.
All right. So here we get this first section of the captain going, talking about this. How many of y'all have y'all seen that movie I, Robot with Will Smith? A good number of y'all, right? It's a little bit older movie now. I think it's roughly like 10 or 12 years old. But isn't that kind of what he's thinking, Montag? He thinks the machine's starting to think for itself, starting to change a little bit. But Beatty doesn't believe that. Beatty is our captain. Captain Beatty is his name. And also notice here the joke here. Oh, you don't have anything to worry about, do you? So it's really kind of freaking out Montag with how Beatty makes this joke. But we were just reminded that Montag is hiding something. He does feel a little bit guilty about something in his room, in his house. All right. I believe that's where we're stopping right now. 7 days. Yeah, actually, we're going to stop right there, ladies and gents, with him being slightly nervous by the suspicion of Captain Beatty. That's where we're going to stop for today. Online, we do have a little bit of work that we're going to be finishing up. If you did not finish your questions yesterday, that's what you need to finish first. They're a little bit late, so a couple points will be taken off for that, but you need to finish that up. Otherwise, you need to be finishing up your homework. I'm giving you plenty of time in class today to finish that up. It's a short essay, just 2 to 3 paragraphs. I'm going to help you work out a little bit on how to write that introduction paragraph, just like we worked on with our notes. I would suggest getting your notes out so we can use those to help us write that first paragraph. That's it for now. I'm going to go ahead and cut the recording here, but we're going to pick this up next week with him talking about Clarice again. All right?